Hi, everybody. It's time to talk about and learn about the executive branch. Okay, so the executive branch is, as you probably know, the presidency. It's president, the people that work at the White House that help the president make decisions. But it also includes what's known as the bureaucracy. So this part will be in, the executive branch will be in two parts, the actual presidency and then another chapter on the bureaucracy. Okay, so first we're going to focus on what are the powers of the president and the qualifications to be president. Okay, so we're going to start off here with a look at Mount Rushmore. That's in South Dakota. That is the place for our greatest presidents. We've got Washington, we've got Jefferson, we have Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Now, a lot of people see this view front of Mount Rushmore, but you probably haven't seen the back of Mount Rushmore. Here's what that looks like. They actually carved that, and you need special privileges to go around the back to see that part of Mount Rushmore. This was the original. It was supposed to be originally, the front was supposed to look like this. This is a model for it. You can see they didn't get all the way done because they ran out of money, basically. So they just did the heads. All right, so here is the big picture idea that you need to keep in the back of your mind as we go through the executive branch. Okay, the powers of the presidency have greatly expanded beyond the originally expressed powers in the Constitution. So the president over time, especially since Franklin Roosevelt, the Great Depression, and World War II, in the Cold War after that, the president, because of our involvement in foreign policy, since World War II, we are considered the world's leader and the strongest military and so forth. That is because of the presidency. That greatly expands the role of the president. But the president has also increased his role in the lawmaking process. Okay? Even though Congress passes bills, the president a lot of times sets the agenda, especially the first 2 years of the presidency, of that person's presidency. They set the agenda. They say, here is what I want to do. Tax cuts. I want to do health care reform. I want to increase military spending and upgrade the military. Those kind of things are set by the president. And normally the president does that in the State of the Union speech, a speech that the president gives usually at the end of January, beginning of February, in front of both houses of Congress, the House and the Senate, and says, this is what I want the agenda to be. Now, a big part of that is what party's in control of the House and the Senate. If it's the president's party in control of the House and the Senate, that agenda pretty much gets done. If the opposition party of the president is in power is the majority party in either the House and or the Senate, that agenda probably is going to be blocked, or the president is going to have to go out of his way, and his party is going to have to go out of their way to compromise to get things done. Okay, but just be be aware that the powers of the presidency has greatly expanded since, especially because of foreign policy powers. Okay, now what is the executive branch? Okay, there are powers that are listed in Article 2. The president, and we'll go through a lot of those, but the president basically runs the government, executes the laws. Congress will pass the laws. The president executes them or carries them out. Even if it's a law that the president doesn't agree with, he has to carry that law out. Otherwise, he's violating his oath of office and can be impeached and removed for that. Okay, so the main duty of the president is enforcing the laws. This includes the people that help the president. The vice president has an office and helps the president. The president's cabinet. The cabinet are the department heads. We'll talk more about this when we get to the bureaucracy, but they are the departments, and they're headed by secretaries. They meet with the president about once a month. The president holds a cabinet meeting, and they inform the president of what's going on. These are the departments of education, the Department of Defense, the Attorney General's Office, Justice Department, the Energy Department. There's a whole bunch of those, but we'll get to those in the next chapter. And then, so they help the president make decisions and carry out the laws. Now, what are the qualifications to be president? Okay, first of all, you have to be, according to the Constitution, you have to be at least 35 years old on Inauguration Day. So you can run for president when you're 34, as long as you're 35 on the day you take the oath of office. Okay, you have to be a natural-born citizen. a naturalized citizen, somebody born in another country, who immigrates to the United States and becomes a citizen, goes through the citizenship process, cannot become a president. You have to be a natural-born citizen. And you have to live in the United States for a total of 14 years. So you can actually be a citizen and live outside of the country, but you have to be president, you have to live in the United States for at least 14 years. It doesn't say 14 consecutive years. It doesn't say 14 of the last years, but it's just 14 years. All right, next we have the terms. The president serves a 4-year term, okay? There's a big debate at the beginning of when they were making the Constitution. Should it be 7 years? Should it be life? 1 7-year term? They decided 4 years, and they did not limit how many terms a president could serve. All presidents, up until Franklin Roosevelt, served no more than 2 terms. There was no term limit. It just so happened they followed the example of George Washington. George Washington was elected for 2 4-year terms, 8 years total. He decided to retire at that point. Everybody else followed that example until Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt was president during the Great Depression. He was elected in 1932. He was elected again in 1936. And then he had to decide what he wanted to do in 1940. Well, World War II was breaking out, actually was going on. We weren't involved in it yet. And he decided, I'm going to run for a 3rd term. And then he ran again for a 4th term in 1944. Served about 3 months of that term and then died of an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm, leaving the presidency to Harry Truman. But he was our longest serving president. After Roosevelt passed away, and in the 1950s, the 22nd Amendment was passed. 22nd Amendment limits the president to 2 terms. So the president can serve 2 4-year terms. After that, cannot run. Okay? But actually the most amount of years a president can serve is 10. So the way this works is if a president is vice president and for whatever reason has to serve as president, his president dies, his president resigns, his president has health issues or something like that, they can serve 2 years of a previous president's term and then run for 2 more terms. So actually now the most amount of time a president can serve is 2 years of a previous president's term plus 4 years, and then if he or she gets reelected another 4 years, that's a total of 10 years, 4 plus 4 plus 2. Okay, nobody's ever done that, but it could happen. It's in the 22nd Amendment. Okay, a lot of students ask me, how much does the president make? $400,000 per year, which is a lot of money. But I would say, considering what the president has to do, the president lives at his office at the White House. The president's Oval Office is part of the White House. President can be woken up at 3 a.m. We were attacked in this situation. There's things, negotiations with Congress on laws. There are a lot of things that go on. The president never totally gets to get away from his or her job. Okay, it's basically a 24-hour job. So there's a lot of stress. And if you don't believe me, if you think the president doesn't do much, just Google image search any president at the beginning and at the end of their term, especially the ones that serve 8 years. They age more than 8 years. It looks like they age more than 8 years in that time, or the 4 years. It is a tough, tough job. Okay, they get a $50,000 a year allowance for job-related expenses. So that includes food. That includes if the president, wants to buy a bunch of new suits. All that is included in the allowance. And that $50,000 has to be spent on things that are related to the presidency. You get to live in the White House. It's 132 rooms, 18.3 acres. It's one of the most famous residences in the world. You get to live there. It's 4 stories tall. The president's 3 stories tall. The president gets to live on the 2nd floor with his family. And actually, there's a 3rd floor that was added, I think, in the 40s when Truman was president. So it's a pretty big house, and it's a pretty historic house. You get to live there when you're president. Okay, you get Air Force One. That's what you see in the picture here, the president's personal plane. It's in its own hangar. It has its own pilot staff. It has its own food service, and it's way better than the food service that you'd ever get on a regular commercial airline. It's gourmet food, so it's pretty good. President's treated pretty well. They don't have to do much for themselves as far as like everyday life. They have, butlers, they have cooks, they have people that clean the White House. They don't have to do a lot of that day-to-day stuff, which is fair because, like I said, it's a 24-hour job. So they shouldn't have to waste their time. The president shouldn't have to waste his time worrying about, oh my gosh, is there enough food in the house? Somebody else takes care of that, okay? You have a staff that helps you out, other benefits. You have power. You're considered the most powerful person in the world. That would be pretty cool, okay? And then you get expense accounts for that's part of this $50,000 a year allowance. Okay, we're going to stop there. Those are the qualifications and what the president does. So part 2 will be the powers and limitations of the presidency.